So we should then be moving down to the Police Civil Service Commission questions.
Before I can have you define the meat of my real question, I have a lead-in question, shall we say.
Sure.
Do you have any knowledge or background in the Maplewood Police Department, how it works or what it's like, or anything that your background would?
The Maplewood Police Department specifically, my brother went to grade school with one of the
Oh, no.
police officers, but we don't communicate at this point. I did become interested in this commission because I do have a friend who is a detective on the St. Paul Force. I've kind of seen him grow into his position there. You know, he obviously on the east side of St. Paul dealt with a lot of domestics and whatnot on that side. Now he's become a detective, so that was why this commission interests me. I don't have any firsthand working knowledge of the Maplewood, but I thought also that would be an advantage, being that I don't have any vested interest.
Mm-hmm. I just want to know what made you interested. So, with that in mind, what would you think is the most important function of our Police Civil Service Commission?
I think it would be to gather all the facts, to take the opportunity to hear the side, every side of what it is that you're presented with, and have an unbiased opinion of how to make the recommendation to the City Council.
Okay, specifically, what kind of a situation are you thinking of when you say that?
Well, I believe one of the things that you deal with, or that the commission deals with, is some type of, if something were to go awry with a police officer or something along those lines.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Nephew, I think you're question number 2.
All right. My next question for you again is on the Civil Service Commission, and it is, tell us your experience in dealing with confidential personnel matters.
I do it on a daily basis because I work for a financial institution, but I am also a manager. So I have managed since 1999, and I understand the importance of coaching the employees to kind of head in the direction that you're trying to seek them to produce certain goals and expectations, and when they're not, taking the time to show them the wrongs and the rights before you get to the point where you have to part ways, because I've been on it with having to let go employees for one reason or another. But I think it's more important to take the time to show them ensure that they know what is expected of them and give them that opportunity.
What do you think are the major challenges for law enforcement in Maplewood today?
Again, it's not my area of expertise, but I can only imagine what these financial difficulties have thrown their way. I know that being on the side that I do deal with in the lending aspect, people have fallen on hard times, and when that happens, they become desperate in one way or another. So to me, it would be the trickle effect of the economy that they're dealing with.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is the final question that we have that's a formal question anyway. As a commissioner, you could be called upon to investigate charges against a police officer, determine guilt or innocence, and select appropriate punishment if the officer is found guilty. What experiences and skills qualify you to perform this duty?
Well, I have a few experiences. I have had the opportunity, and I'm not sure exactly what the process looks like in Maplewood, but I've sat on 2 juries, one for a murder trial, another one for a patent infringement. It's definitely interesting to go through that process and to sit in the deliberating room when not everybody agrees on what the outcome should be. On the other aspect, I do deal with the human assets that we have at my work, and it's a very valuable asset. It can also be a liability. So in dealing with that, you need to ensure that you have all of the information that is at your discretion and make the best decision for everyone involved. And again, you know, you're sitting in a room full of individuals who do not all share the same life experience or are of like mind. But again, that's why you put us all together in a room to come up with a solution for the greater good. That's
I
my
have been
process.
called to jury duty 4 times. Every single time I've ended up on a jury. And when I was complaining the last time to one of the other jurors about the fact that this was my 4th time, the other people heard that, and I immediately became the chair of the jury.
Flap your lip.
And so I should be good for life, I think.
Don't go to your mailbox tomorrow.
Are there any kind of follow-up questions that anybody's thought of that you want to follow up with? Do you have anything that you would like to ask us, Christine?
I do. I would, you know, they're kind of preemptive, but I was kind of curious just to understand what some of the hot topics are for the commissions, if you are able to share.
The hot topics, like on the commissions that you've applied for?
Yeah, things they're dealing with right now.
Anybody want to take a
See, the
crack?
Civil Service Commission must be doing, did they qualify a new list yet?
You're working on a new list.
We've had some
They
vacancies
just
in the police department.
completed, if I might, Mr. Mayor, Council, the Police Civil Service Commission, we currently have 3 openings. And so they are currently, just went through a list and selected candidates and gave the chief a list of candidates that were eligible, and then we'll be hiring that particular person in the next month. That person gets trained, and then the list expires. And so now the
Start over.
commission will begin in January
Start over.
establishing a whole new list, and that's a 3 to 4 month process as they go through and establish hundreds of candidates potentially that are qualified to be on the list, and then they will all get ranked by the commission, and then that list then gets recommended to the chief for potential hiring.
And if I might, the hiring process through them usually involves 3 pieces, but their biggest involvement is up front, helping to choose the test that everyone must take. And then in the end, when it's narrowed down, they look through the backgrounds and so on and certify a number of candidates to the chief, who then interviews again and then makes the final decision. So it's kind of a cooperative effort.
And I think on the Betsy side of things, I know they're going out and starting to try to make contact with some of the businesses in the community, but, and this is just my own impression, I think that they're still working at feeling their way a little bit and trying to figure out exactly how to approach the whole thing. And so we've been receiving, at least I have some things I'm going to share with the council at our next meeting. Some different groups have been sending some information about different ways to go about doing what it is we want to do, which is really to kind of get some kind of inventory of what the business community is thinking, things that we might be able to do in a quicker pace in order to address some issues that would come up, and then the long-term kind of plan. But you know, we're still also as a city trying to come up with a funding source. A lot of things that we could do would be a lot easier if we had some money to do it, and can actually become a player in the game. You know, where there's an opportunity to pick up a lot where a business has gone out of business or something, and get it ready and, you know, make it more attractive for somebody else to come in and pick it up. And so you know, that's why we're still really kind of trying to figure out exactly what the best course of action is. So be a good time to get in on that, because then you're still in on the ground floor the way I see it. So, Mr. Nephew?
Well, this is a question slash observation. I did notice on your application for the BEDC that you marked yourself not as a business representative but as a resident, although you do have, of course, this business background and an association in management. Any particular reason for that? I guess I'm trying to remember exactly what the criterion is for calling somebody a business representative for that.
Well, would it be that the business is in Maplewood?
That's why I did not check it, because my
Right, because it's
place
in
of
North St.
employment is
Paul.
in North St. Paul.
You know,
Was that a
I know that we
requirement? Was that-
reached out to people who weren't necessarily part of the community.
Yeah, well, I guess we do have people who have had a business in Maplewood, but did not themselves live here. So is that that
So
would
she's
be the
just
thing?
the,
Yeah, well, and
I
I
was the
mean, we,
opposite.
actually,
Well, I think your background is a tremendous asset either
Yes.
way, but this is one of the commissions where there's some specific criteria about a number of people are supposed to be
but
business
she has
representatives or.
good business experience and happens to live here, so then
Yeah.
you start going like this.
Yeah.
You're confusing us.
We're just confusing ourselves. We're good at that.
I was just going to say we had a running start.
if you have any other questions?
Do you have time for one more?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I was just curious to uncover with the openings that's on the Betsy, if was that term coming due? I mean, does the council have any concern with 3 new perspectives on that commission?
Kathy has an opinion?
Well, I don't have an opinion, I know in the case of one, well, actually 2, one was a job change, which made remaining there very difficult, so it wasn't because she wanted to leave. And the other person they've acquired another residence. They still live here, but he's going to spend a lot of time in the other place because he's a retired person. So he just made the choice, and he said it was very difficult because he really was looking forward to this, but I guess not as much as having a lovely place somewhere else. I don't blame him.
It's
Well,
a fairly new commission. I was on it for a short while.
But these 2 did not leave because they were tearing their hair.
Well, and so your question was, were we concerned about the fact that we're
No.
replacing 3?
Right. Mm-hmm.
We got no choice.
Well, and not if we have capable people, no.
I would say that there could be some concern. I'm always concerned whenever we have to come up with a lot of people to fill some spots. Sometimes there seems to be a whole bunch of people interested, sometimes not that many. And so my concerns are more about keeping people on the commissions. And I think that maybe the turnover that we have had has maybe delayed a little bit some of the that word.
Yeah. We understand.
Them going forward with what it is that they think their mission should be. And so, on the other hand,
It's a good time.
you know, we haven't lost any ground, and it still is a good time to get for people to have opinions, and it's the type of thing that really the more opinions, the better, as to what the best approach is, so that we can explore as many options as possible.
It's a good time, actually, for us as far as not being nervous like we would be with possibly a more established commission, but everybody has fresh ideas and is fresh blood, so I think
Yes.
it's an ideal time to be someone appointed.
You could go forward. We just before you had a little conversation with Lorraine Fisher, who's been serving the Planning Commission for over 40 years.
So you can,
And so you can kind of just,
plan ahead.
mark down on your calendar maybe the next 40
the
years.
next 40 years. So
She
just
maybe
the
wasn't
process
thinking
moving
those
forward from here then on both commissions.
We will be announcing the people that have been appointed on December 13th. That's our next council meeting.
Is that going to be the case for the Betsy? Because we still have one more person to be interviewed.
Right, and you'll interview him that night before the meeting and
Before the
then vote
meeting,
that
so
evening.
be able to, okay.
So Mr. Nephew just said that we have one more person to interview. But, so, that would, I guess, really make it that would be the real first notice. I've been telling some of the other people that they'd be able to look at our council packets online and know what's in there. But we do have that interview that'll take place just before the meeting. And so in the Betsy case, there wouldn't be any, we wouldn't even know probably till we get to the meeting who it is that we've selected. And we do use
We'll all be surprised.
these forced ranking system stuff.
Yep.
And so, we're making judgments as we go.
Okay.
And so we won't know the final for that one until then.
And ask Mr. Antonin how it was to train us to do that.
You wouldn't believe, actually, the in-depth conversations that I have seen and or taken part in on the council about how to vote on something. But this does seem to be a pretty good method.
Yes, we finally understand